Emily, I'll come back for you. I promise. Those were Daniel's words the night he boarded a bus to the city. His dreams were bigger than their small town could contain. But without money, dreams don't buy college degrees. That's why Emily, his childhood friend, worked double shifts as a waitress, sacrificing her own ambitions just to pay for his tuition. She never told anyone. Not even Daniel's parents knew who was wiring his rent. 4 years later, Emily sat on the edge of her small bed, clutching an invitation that didn't belong in her world. Daniel and Olivia, you're invited to our engagement party. Olivia, her best friend. Emily's heart twisted, but the worst part wasn't betrayal. It was the cold realization. She was never meant to be part of Daniel's success story. The next morning, gossip exploded across town. Emily, she's still working at the diner. Daniel's marrying up. But Emily didn't cry. Instead, she folded the invitation, stood tall, and whispered to herself, I'll attend that engagement party, but not as the girl they pity. Emily had no designer dress, no expensive shoes, but she had something better: determination. She borrowed a sleek black dress from her coworker, styled her hair herself, and with trembling hands entered the grand hall where Daniel's engagement party glittered under crystal chandeliers. The whispers started instantly. Isn't that Emily from the diner? She has no shame showing up here. Olivia always had a generous heart. Pity invite. But Emily didn't flinch. Across the room, Daniel stood by Olivia, tall, polished, and utterly stunned. His smile faded the moment their eyes met. He hadn't expected her to come, certainly not looking that confident. Olivia turned, her arm possessively around Daniel's card. Emily, you came! Her tone was sugary sweet, but her eyes glinted with something else: mockery. Emily smiled back, her head held high. I wouldn't miss it. After all, I helped build this moment. For a split second, Olivia's smile faltered. Daniel looked uncomfortable. The crowd didn't understand what Emily meant, but they would. Soon. Emily wasn't there to cause a scene. She was there to flip the entire script quietly. Because some victories are served without warning. Emily didn't need to expose anything. Not yet. She had time and patience. As Daniel's father, Mr. Morgan, made a speech about family values and earning success, Emily quietly mingled with guests. She wasn't there to gossip. She was there to listen. That's when she overheard Olivia's aunt whispering, Olivia's father is investing heavily into Daniel's startup. This marriage seals the deal. Emily's stomach twisted. So that was it. Love wasn't even on the menu. Daniel had traded loyalty for leverage. But Emily wasn't broken. She was calculating. While Olivia basked in attention, Emily made her way to the investor table, where businessmen discussed mergers she had once read about during late-night shifts. Calmly, she introduced herself to Mr. Harris, the man Olivia's family desperately needed for the deal. You're Daniel's business partner? He asked. I'm the one who funded his entire education, Emily replied, letting the truth hang in the air like a loaded gun. Mr. Harris raised an eyebrow. Interesting, that wasn't mentioned. Emily smiled. A lot wasn't. As the evening sparkled with fake toasts and shallow applause, Emily's quiet revelation had already planted a time bomb. And when it detonated, no one would see it coming. By the next morning, rumors had sprouted like wildfire. Who's this Emily girl? She's claiming to have funded Daniel's education? Why isn't she on the company's official bio? Olivia's family, known for controlling narratives, scrambled to contain the story. But whispers in business circles spread faster than press releases. Meanwhile, Daniel confronted Emily at the cafe where she still worked. You're making a scene, he hissed. Emily didn't flinch. Funny. I remember scrubbing tables to pay your tuition while you played visionary entrepreneur. Daniel's jaw tightened. That was years ago. Debt doesn't expire because you upgraded your crowd. He looked around nervously, Olivia's family can ruin you. Emily leaned in, her voice sharp. I'm not the one living off someone else's wallet. What Daniel didn't know was that Mr. Harris had called Emily privately. I like people who invest in people, not transactions, he said. Come to tomorrow's board meeting. Emily agreed, not to beg, but to reclaim her place in the narrative. Because Olivia may have bought Daniel's hand, but Emily owned the receipts of his foundation. And the difference between charity and leverage? Emily was about to teach them publicly. The Carrington Hotel's boardroom was filled with tailored suits, stock portfolios, and practiced smiles. Emily walked in no designer bag, no entourage. Just her and a worn notebook that carried every receipt, transfer slip, and wire she'd ever sent for Daniel's education. Daniel's face paled when he saw her. Olivia sat composed, but her fingers tapped nervously on the glass table. Mr. Harris welcomed Emily with a firm handshake. Let's begin, shall we? The meeting was about finalizing investment deals for Daniel's startup, with Olivia's father backing the majority share. Until Mr. Harris cleared his throat. Before we proceed, there's a matter of transparency. He slid Emily's notebook to the center of the table. Apparently, the company's origin story has missing chapters. The room went cold. Emily didn't gloat. She simply spoke. I was never asking for credit. But when someone builds a house on stolen bricks, it's not right to pretend the foundation never existed. Silence. Mr. Harris smiled slightly. Integrity matters to my firm. I back entrepreneurs, not opportunists. Olivia's father stood, face flushed. Daniel said nothing. But the balance of power had just shifted quietly, surgically. Emily wasn't done yet. This was just the first crack. The next morning, business blogs exploded with headlines. Entrepreneur's success story questioned silent partner steps forward. Investors started asking uncomfortable questions. Social media wasn't kind. Olivia's PR team scrambled to spin the story. It's a petty ex seeking attention, they said. But Emily wasn't begging for the spotlight. She was simply present, and that made her dangerous. That evening, at a high-profile networking gala, Daniel and Olivia arrived arm in arm. But Daniel's grin vanished the moment he saw Emily seated confidently at Mr. Harris's VIP table. Olivia clenched her jaw. What is she doing here? Daniel's voice was low. Harris must have invited her. Olivia's smile never reached her eyes as she approached Emily. If it's money you want, let's negotiate quietly. Emily didn't flinch. I'm not here for a payout. I'm here because I earned my place. Mr. Harris, hearing everything, leaned in. Olivia, Emily understands business loyalty more than anyone in this room. Other investors took note. The whispers started. Emily wasn't the underdog anymore. She had transformed from the girl they pitied into the woman they now had to respect. And for the first time, Olivia's mask cracked. Daniel wasn't holding the leverage anymore. Emily was. The morning after the gala, Daniel's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 3 investors had pulled out. One key partner asked for a transparency review. And the worst part? None of it was loud. It was quiet, surgical, just like Emily. Olivia stormed into Daniel's office, slamming the door. She's ruining everything! You need to control this! Daniel sat in silence, staring at his phone. His hands trembled. You don't control someone who's telling the truth, Olivia. Olivia's face hardened. Then we bury her. But it was too late. Emily didn't need to raise her voice. She was already being invited to speak at panels about women backing startups, the unsung investors. Mr. Harris called Daniel with a final blow. We back founders with integrity. If Emily isn't compensated and credited, you lose our entire network. Daniel's empire wasn't built on innovation. It was built on borrowed kindness. And now it had come full circle. Later that evening, Emily sat at a cafe, watching as Daniel's company trended for all the wrong reasons. She didn't need revenge headlines. She just needed the truth to be undeniable. Because sometimes karma doesn't knock loudly. It whispers, right where it hurts. Daniel found Emily at the same cafe where they'd spent late nights dreaming years ago. But this time, he wasn't the dreamer. He was the fallen star. Emily, I was young, stupid. I thought I could repay you by succeeding, but I forgot who got me there. Emily stirred her coffee slowly. You didn't forget. You chose to erase me. He sat across from her, deflated. Olivia's father has pulled his investments. Mr. Harris is demanding you be brought in as a partner. Emily looked up, her gaze calm. You're not here to apologize. You're here because your empire is collapsing. I want to fix this, he whispered. Let me make it right. Emily smiled, but it wasn't bitter. It was freeing. You can't make it right, Daniel. You can only step aside and watch it fix itself. Later that evening, Daniel stood at a press conference, announcing his formal resignation as CEO. Cameras flashed. Olivia was nowhere to be seen. When reporters asked who would take his place, Daniel simply said, the person who built this company while no one was watching. And across town, Emily smiled quietly. Because she hadn't needed revenge. She only needed them to remember. The next board meeting was different. No condescending glances, no pitying smirks, just quiet respect as Emily took her seat at the head of the table. She wasn't there as the girl who helped Daniel. She was there as Emily Allen, co-founder and executive director. Mr. Harris smiled approvingly. Let's rebuild this story properly. Meanwhile, Olivia's family had gone radio silent. Their attempt to buy credibility had backfired spectacularly. Olivia herself had vanished from the business scene, her carefully curated social image tarnished beyond repair. Daniel, for once, sat at the back of the boardroom, no longer the star, but a spectator to the narrative Emily now controlled. But Emily wasn't driven by spite. She had learned something far more valuable through the betrayal. Power wasn't loud. It didn't need validation. Real power was in the ability to lift others even after being stepped on. That afternoon, she signed a new partnership deal, not with corporate sharks, but with grassroots entrepreneurs, those like her who had been ignored. The girl who once served coffee in the background was now building legacies in the spotlight. And this time, she owned the pen to write every chapter. 1 year later, Emily stood on stage at a global entrepreneurship summit. Behind her, a large banner read, "From silent investors to powerhouses, stories that deserve to be heard." The applause was thunderous, not because of scandals or viral drama, but because Emily had become a symbol of quiet strength, loyalty, and what happens when the underestimated finally rise. In the audience sat small business owners she had funded, young women she had mentored, people who saw themselves in her journey. Daniel was there too, not on stage, but in the crowd, quietly clapping. He wasn't bitter. He was humbled. He had learned that losing isn't when you fall. It's when you forget who helped you stand. After the event, a journalist asked Emily, if you could go back, would you change how you supported Daniel? Emily smiled. Number. Because the problem was never helping someone rise. The mistake is when they forget to reach back. As cameras flashed, Emily wasn't thinking about revenge or payback. She was thinking about legacy. Not the one she inherited. The one she built. One quiet sacrifice at a time. And this time, her name would never be forgotten. The moral lesson of this story is that never underestimate the quiet sacrifices of others. True success is built on gratitude, not betrayal.